and in 2011 he produced a short film, Audacity, in Kolkata for a filmmaker from Los Angeles, and a television series named Gora. He also produced a short film, Parting Shots. The film was based and was shot in the media and entertainment industry with the ladies.
Thank you, Nikita. Welcome everyone. I represent Whistling Woods in that plethora of people who are supporting. What is amazing being here is that Daria was my student, then she was my colleague. Ahana was my student, and I work for Meghna. Meghna is my third woman boss. Patty Tassi, and then Randy Summers, and now Meghna. And I think everyone should work for a woman sometime in their life. I think women should rule the world. That's the way I think about it. This is not the first time I've had interactions on Women's Day, and I think one thing that we men miss is the ability to bring life into this world. Only women can bring life, which is why if you've been following what's happening, the zeitgeist, India, Pakistan, Abhinandan, I've learned more about Abhinandan's mother than I've learned about him. That's really what our society is all about. You ladies are workers, you work, you're professionals, you're also mothers. So what I want to talk about is it more difficult being a woman in your work life? When I say work life, I just don't mean your professional life, what you do at home. I want to talk about your partners, how they contribute. Because a lot of my kids, when I interview them, I ask them, what do your parents do? They say, my dad's a businessman, he's a doctor, he's an engineer. And when I say, what does your mother do? They quiet down and say, oh, she's only a housewife. And I have to tell them that, I'm sorry, your mother works harder than your father does. Absolutely. Do you guys agree? Anybody here? Okay. All right. So let me start with Meghna because I know more about it. Okay, let's go. I'll start myself. I'll talk about my mother. Mere paas maa hai. Shanti.
Mic bhi hai.
Shanti, so tell me a little bit about your journey, and then we want to specifically talk about what impediments you faced as a woman.
Hello, can you hear me? Thank you firstly for having me. It's nice to be here and chat about this.
Big fan of your films, I've told you.
Thank you so much, that's so kind of you. Although there are just 2 of them, it feels good. So the journey has been actually great so far, touch wood. I've only worked with amazing people who have only nurtured and allowed me to grow. So that's been a great, learning, because obviously there's going to be trouble and there's going to be roadblocks everywhere. But I think if you're focused and if you have the right people backing you, that can be fantastic. So my partners are great. We all have the same set of ethics. We may obviously disagree on a lot of things, which is healthy, but our value system is the same, our core is the same. So then it doesn't matter. And we all believe that you need a great work-life balance. Otherwise it can go crazy. Otherwise there's no life really. Because it's each that drives the other for me. I need my work as well to feel that I'm doing something else as well for my own thing. It's not for anything else. I love going to work. I love when, even after my child, I was happy to come back to work. And when I go home, I'm cherishing that time as well, because I'm trying to balance. There's no such thing that balance exists, but I'm trying.
Okay, a blunt question. Have you ever had somebody mansplain to you?
Sorry, what?
Mansplain, man-explaining.
No.
I will tell you, I'm a man.
Oh, no, never. I've never had that actually.
Well, you're lucky.
I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky. Obviously, there was one incident I remember. My partner is Atul Kazbekar, who's also very, very supportive. And there was an incident where I think one of our team members was spoken badly to. He personally called that person in front of all of us and said, I'm going to really, really take you down. You cannot, this is just no way to behave. So that code of conduct has been with us from day one. We've never, even if someone's spoken badly to me or a team member, it's never taken lightly. We've always replied very sternly, and it comes from the top. It's not just like, hey, I didn't like what you did. It's very, very a strongly worded email or a legal letter or anything that means an authority has called up and said, listen, it's not okay, so we don't want to work with you again. So we've taken that stand very, very clearly. So no, I've been very lucky. I've not faced this at all, actually.
So your company officially has a policy?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I want Meghna to talk about that in a bit, but Meghna, tell us about your journey. When I first met you, I didn't know, but you were pregnant. Since then, you've had 2 kids?
Yes.
Well, you have 3. Whistling Woods is your oldest
first baby. Yeah, my kids are quite jealous when I say that. How can you say that? So, good morning, everyone. It's been quite an amazing journey, and I think one of the things that I have really learned to appreciate is actually the men in my life. Because when I got pregnant, Whistling Woods was just about a year old. And at that point, there was a little worry that, because I was helming an institute, it was a new school, how was I going to manage? And I had to assure everyone that, you know what, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be one of those women who works till their 9th month, and so I think that determination within me made it happen. I was working till a week before I delivered, and then the question to come back. I mean, I know a lot of you here are college kids, and you may not relate to me very well, but the hardest part of a woman getting back to her career or to her job is after she has the baby, that separation anxiety. It's not just from the child, it's from us as well. 3-4 months of just living, breathing, seeing that baby and nurturing for it, you just are so nervous to get back. And one of the things I have to thank my organization for is that they literally bullied me into coming back into work. My husband works with me, which made it so much easier for me to take a maternity break without any stress that somebody was going to take over my job, because that's what would happen otherwise. And he also then came back home every night and said, please come back, I can't handle this. So that made me feel good, because I felt, okay, maybe I need to go back, because he's really having he's really having a stressful time. My father, who first time I came back after 3 months, second time I was trying to take a longer maternity. That time 6 months wasn't official. He literally bullied me into coming back. He said, what are you doing? It's been 4 months, you have to come back. I know if he was just my boss, it would be probably harassment for bringing me back to work, but because he was my father, it was all right. But I think if he hadn't done that, it would have been much harder for me to come back. So first of all, men at work, or just leadership at work, it could be women, men or women who are in the leadership positions need to be very empathetic towards women, I feel. Yeah, equality, but they need to really understand what it takes to come back to work. I have a senior colleague at work right now, and I spend the whole morning motivating her to come back to work, and she is taking a break, and I can feel her anxieties. And the great thing is that because I've been through it, I've been able to really encourage her to come back, giving her the assurance that, you know what, it's okay, you can work from home, you can do part-time. And one of the things she said to me just this morning was that, I know I have your support and I know you're great, but people watch you when you leave early. People in the organization judge you that, oh, why is she leaving at 5 just because she has the mom card? And I said to her that, you know what, I felt that as well. Being the boss, I felt that, but I just became immune to it, because at the end of the day, how many working hours do we actually dedicate? And I found women who are working with kids at home are actually more, I don't know what it is, maybe guilt, maybe just passion or whatever, they want to give 120% of those 6 hours or 7 hours that they spend at work. So I feel that women are, if you give them that encouragement to be able to work from home or whatever, they will actually give back more to the company than men who are working 12 hours a day. So I think leadership is very important, which is what in my journey, I would say that really worked for me.
Well, talking about leadership, you bring up some very valid points. Whistling Woods is an organization, the first one I worked at, where there are more women than men. And it comes from the top. Yours also? We'll talk about that in a second. And it comes from the top. And as I said, all of you guys out there experience working for a woman once, and you'll realize why the wars are not fought on this planet by women. They're fought by men. Meghna, let's talk a little bit about why we have more women, and is it because of your empathy, understanding what a woman goes through? The radical policies you put in place, maternity leave, having a creche at work. Let's talk a little bit about what you've personally done to empower the women on our campus.
So one, that whenever we've interviewed for a position, we've never made that distinction whether we want to. I mean, I know companies that do that. That okay, if I'm hiring a head of accounts, it must be a man.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you, Meghna.
Yeah.
I don't think that you consciously sit and say, she's got estrogen, he's got testosterone, let's take her. But I think what happens is that when you interview or when they talk to other people, they get the sense that women are respected here. This is a good place to work. Perhaps they get more encouraged than other places.
And I also am quite sensitive towards the men in my organization, because a couple of times that we've had Women's Day celebrations, the first few years, Mr. Somnath Sen here stood up and said, what about Men's Day celebrations? So
We don't get roses.
Come up with the day, come up with the day. So after that, I don't know if you noticed, but we started giving chocolates to men as well. And we said, whether you eat it up or you take it for your wife or sister or mom, but you know what, you should celebrate this day as well. So personally, whenever I have addressed my organization, staff, faculty, I've always spoken about life-work balance, but I've always said the life-work balance applies for men as well. I feel very strongly that if men do spend some more time at home, women can then actually spend more time at work as well. So that balance in today's day and age, when both husband and wife are working, it's important that men as well find that balance. So we have, I know you look at women bringing their kids to work, but we have a lot of men who bring their kids, yeah, I mean, he brings his son, but we have a lot of men bringing their kids at work. One of my favorite examples about our creche is that when I when I just had my kids, I brought my kids from day one. Okay, from the time I started, I was feeding them, breastfeeding them at work, and I used to bring them up, and they had a room. I started feeling like there were other women who were pregnant, and I started encouraging them to bring their babies at work. And they had different sorts of problems. Like they said to me, ma'am, you know, we come by train, and how do we bring a small baby in the train? It's so much easier to just, you know, kind of leave the milk at home and leave them with our mom or mother-in-law. So I understood whatever works for them. But then I had an opportunity for another female colleague of mine who wanted to use the creche. And I said, great, we did it up, you know, put everything out there. A couple of weeks, no, sorry, the day she started, with her daughter came her husband. And her husband sat in the creche with the baby while she worked on a computer, Disha. I was amazed. I was like, Disha, how come your husband is over? She's like, you know, he has a BD role. He has to just travel for work or work out, you know, from wherever he is. And he really wanted me to join back, so he's supporting me. You know, every time I think about this story, I have goosebumps, because I just feel that India is changing, things are changing, men are taking more responsibility, and you know, this is the kind of change that we want to see. So men or women, I think we should make an environment which is...
I didn't mean a crash only, I just said crash. Because I've been a house husband for more than a year, taking care of Aman, my son, when my ex-wife was working. Coming to, you know, you also said you have more women working.
Yes.
I want to bring something up here since we're talking about women and media. I went looking for an office for a film I was making, and my talk about media. House owner says no women in this office after 6. So I'm like, my producer, her mom is a PhD, my mom is a PhD, we're educated. How can you put these kind of, have you experienced that being a woman in media, that it is considered media women?
No, I haven't actually. I've been very lucky, like I said, because from day one, the management agency has had a lot of women as a part of the crew. Like the hands-on managers are all women. I think it's also because we're just better at multitasking, in all honesty. No, we have guys as well, and like she said, I really, really appreciate the men in my team as well. But predominantly, the management business has been run by women a lot. So we haven't really faced that discrimination at all, because to get the job done, you have to eventually speak to a woman. And you know she's going to get it done. So I haven't had that, you know, ki after 6 baje koi aa nahi sakta, or because you're a woman, you're not going to get it. And even if someone says this, it's so funny, you have to just laugh it off. You can't possibly take them seriously.
Tell me a little bit about empowering women in your organization. If all the managers are women, I can.
Yeah.
So men are just, you know.
No.
Take this.
No.
We have men also.
I do have some very, very senior and like really, really great men in the team who are fantastic. No, I love them.
I'm going to bring Ahana in. You know, I started my career as an actor. And then I realized where the power was behind the camera. So, well, no, we're directing. But Shanti's talking about, you know, most of the managers managers have a sense of empowerment. As an actor, tell me about your experiences out there in the real world. Oh, yeah, please. Daria,
I'm sorry, first of all, for the delay. Yeah, coming back to this, hi everybody. And I started my... I'm sure they have. Yeah, I've been around for a bit. So, you know, when I think we started out as actors, you know, once I graduated from Whistling Woods. 2 years ago, right? Yeah, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it's 2 years ago. Yeah, it just seems like yesterday. But it does, you know, I didn't realize till I was talking to somebody and then I was like, oh, it's really been that long. You know, one doesn't realize because the struggle becomes so long that, you know, eventually when you start bearing fruits of the struggle, then you think that, arey, abhi to graduate hue the. Like, it's already been so long. I just recently, in fact, met a couple of ex-students over dinner, and it just happened that I was in the same place, and then they happened to be there, and most of them have left acting careers, and they were all my batchmates. And I think on that table, I'm the only one who's pursued a career in acting, and a girl. So my class consisted of 20 students, and I was just thinking about this morning, you know. It's 20 students in a classroom, 4 girls, 16 boys, out of which, look at the ratio of the people who are working in the film industry, as of today, from the first batch. In the girls, there's only me. In the boys, there is no one. Absolutely no boys in the film industry working as an actor. There is Shashank Khaitan, who's working as a director now, but he's not an actor. Pavel, I completely forgot about him. Neha, is she acting full-time? I don't know. So I don't know, like I'm not in touch with them, so I have no idea what they are doing. Gaurav and Akash. Akash is doing hang on. But I'm just saying, look at the ratio again. Amongst the girls, it's only Neha and me, and amongst the boys, it's like about 5 people. But it's also taking them that long. Also, I don't know whether Gaurav is not really doing mainstream, so I have no idea about what Gaurav is doing.
Marathi mainstream.
Yeah, so I didn't, like, the thing is that I'm not aware of that space and that world. So, and Pavel, I think he's doing a couple of things, I have no idea what he's doing, but there are these people, they're a very handful is what I'm trying to say. I was sitting on that table and there were like at least 6, 7 boys who were not doing anything and had gone back to Papa's business. So it really takes a lot of perseverance to keep pushing, accepting rejection on a daily basis, in terms of your physical appearance, in terms of who you are, what have you done, are you still going to audition despite the fact that you've spent 15 years in the film industry and you know what you're doing and you know that you've done so much work. Even today I get calls where they say, Ki, you have to test for that part. And I'm just like, okay, I understand if it's a big production house which is of some worth, then I do audition for it. So the struggle is real. The struggle is going to keep happening and there's absolutely no way out. And it's never that you've made it. If an Amitabh Bachchan still believes that he's still going to go out there, wake up every morning, and going to go and do that job on a Sunday, where I often see him at famous studios, at Mehboob Studios, and I once bumped into him and I said, why do you work on a Sunday? So he just said, this is what I do because this is what keeps me alive, So I always feel that, for actors, it's never going to be easy. It's never, you always have to keep moving.
As a woman, do you feel like male colleagues, do you think they get a little, they get a free ride more than you?
No, not at all.
Do they get paid more?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, they do.
Do they have to jump through more hoops than you?
I don't think so. So the thing is that at least we've been really lucky actually in the last 3 years. The web has really given jobs to us. If I was still depending on films and if I was entirely depending on theatre or television, I probably would have not been able to do the kind of work that I'm doing as of today. I think the web has really come and changed the face of the kind of work that we are doing today. People look at us and go like, okay, you know, this is an actor of worth. Or this, sorry, just 1 minute. I didn't switch my phone off. Has to be on. Checking whether I've reached or not. So coming back to the pay gap. The pay gap is for real, guys and girls. Women have to fight the pay gap. And I didn't realize this till I was recently part of a web show. And mine and my co-actor's role is the same. We were paired opposite each other. And it just happened to be that, you know, there was a conversation going on. And suddenly somebody spoke about, you know, what the contracts are like. And my contract and his contract was exactly the same except for the pay. And I was just getting a few lakhs lesser than him. It wasn't too much. But I was like, why am I getting paid lesser than this guy, you know? And it was really weird because I was like, aren't we doing the same thing? And I didn't realize it till I started speaking to a lot of female counterparts. And then they started realizing, I think it's been a realization over a period of conversations and a period of time, that you go like, okay, you know, we're all doing the same job, we're all doing the same show, but we all are getting paid in like unequally.
And you spend more on makeup.
Okay, sorry?
You spend more time.
Yeah, and I am called 1 hour extra for hair and makeup. So if I'm, yeah, so you know what, if my contract says, if their contract says 12 hours, those guys turn up at 9 p.m. for a 9 p.m. shift. But I turn up at 9 a.m., but I turn up at 8 a.m. for a 9 a.m. shift, you know, because I go like, then the channel will just be like, oh, but you need 1 hour extra for hair and makeup. But I'm like, but I have hair and makeup to do. Unless you want me to just come like out of bed like the way I look, I'm happy to do that, you know. But this is not what...
You know, yeah, so I'm just saying that the change here is very positive. Because I know in the 80s and 90s, it was about, it was accepted. You know, even somebody like Sri Devi would accept that she would get paid less than Jitendra. You know, that was just accepted and it was okay. Today, the fact that women are realizing and women are making, I mean, people like her who make films like Nirja and Tumhari Sulu and make over 100 CR, I know, but you're not bringing it up enough. 100 crore movies like Razi, okay, but close, yeah. You know, and make such an impact with a woman at the helm of the film is just so amazing. So I feel like women like her can make that difference, because when you hire those women actresses, you make sure that you pay them the same as the men.
Having said that, Meghna.
Not just write women-centric films.
Having said that, Meghna, fact, heroes are known as 100 crore heroes. Austin has worked in 3 films, which made 100 crores. She's not a 100 crore heroine. She will be replaced. Gajini, Amir Khan will not be.
But having said that, there is a difference, yeah, and it was, her role wasn't really, like what she's saying, it wasn't equal.
So what? You are in a movie, you're the main lead actress.
I'll have to barge in here. A film like Manikarnika is what I'm saying. Okay, a film like Padmavati, which the film had an equal amount of role for the woman as well as the man. I think when that equality, see, and the women have to be mindful. As actresses, today I'm mindful. Like when I select a role, even on the web space, at least there I have the upper hand right now, because that's where at least I'm doing enough work. So, you know, when I go to a filmmaker approaches me and says, this is your role, like I mean, not bragging, but I've said no to 10 old Balaji shows till now. And it's been constantly like the male has a bigger part or a longer part than the female. And I'm not okay with that, because I really want to do roles in the web, at least in the web. You know, as actresses, we have that space where I go like, I select the part I want to do. And you write the role according to what we think is right also. So it has to be collaborative, or else don't come to me. So there are a lot of filmmakers, you know, who are now, I think, moving to web. In fact, I've met so many filmmakers. It's been amazing, Meghna. Like, you know, I go and do meetings with these really big filmmakers, and they all are coming to us and they're going like, oh, we really wanted to do our show. And I go like, but you just made such a huge film like 15 years ago, you know. And yeah, I didn't even know, like at that time I was dying to get a meeting with you, and today I'm sitting and dictating terms and conditions, and I'm saying, no, I don't want to do your show, or I want to do your show, you know.
I'm going to bring Daria in, but just before that, quick question. Dirty picture. Did Vidya Balan make more than Nasiruddin Shah?
I wasn't negotiating with Balaji that time. I don't have access to his agreement.
All right, my point is made. Daria, so we talked about producers, we talked about educators and amazing women, super women, everybody's a superwoman here. You direct, and directing has been a male bastion. Worse still, a director deals primarily with men. The cinematographer is mostly man, sound recordist, production designer. Tell me about that experience, having to tell men, women-explain to them what you want.
I think for me it's always a very tricky question, actually, the gender, because I'm always trying to run away from just gender specification. Because I don't believe in gender specification. I don't believe in national specification. When I'm coming, let's say, to Busan, or I'm coming to Berlinale, and I represent India, I feel comfortable with it.
You don't look Indian, but...
Yeah, this is most of the time questions, and they're like, but you don't look Indian. Or, so where are you from? And I have issues with it, because I feel as we progress, we need just like get out with these strange labels that we're putting on ourselves. Or I'm mother, or I am Ukrainian, or I'm Indian, I'm woman, I'm man. Yes, you can if you choose to play the game, but I'm not choosing to play the game. Till now, just talking about labels, for example, I can't be in competition in Mami Film Festival as well Busan Film Festival because I'm Ukrainian and I'm not Asian director. In Ukraine, I'm considered to be, of course, Indian director, and I can't apply for Ukrainian funds because I'm Indian director. I can't apply for NFDC, for example, because I'm Ukrainian director. And I have a lot of issues with it. Same with the gender. Absolutely. That when, for example, somehow most of my boys who work in our office, it's boys. We got incredibly talented writer. She's here. And she was our behind the scenes. And I think she was our first girl in the office. But when I'm hiring someone, I don't look who they are. I don't look where they are from or whether they are, again, man or woman. I just look at whether they are talented or not.
Have you had any Ukrainians?
No, I didn't. So I can't say that for me it's an important issue. Of course, at the same time, I can't be blind about it because, yes, when I'm on the set, for example, I make sure that I'm wearing, I always think what I will wear tomorrow because I know that I have to cover my breast, though, I was lucky I didn't have a big breast. And it is an issue because I have a friend she's a director, she's an incredible director, she has a really big breast, and she used to have long hair, and she's saying, because when I'm on set, I need to cover my breast. Because all light men and people who are working for me, they just look at me. And she's always trying to wear something baggy, and it is an issue. And
do you feel any pushback from your key crew, cinematographers, sound recordists? Why do I take orders from a woman? Have you ever felt that?
It's interesting. I think sometimes they feel that they are pushed back, but definitely subconsciously, when I talk even to some of my key members, they might be uncomfortable taking some orders, but I don't know whether because I'm a woman or just because I'm pushy at some point of time. So I think it also comes from my mindset. So when I'm having debate, I don't come from the point of view, oh, I'm a woman, listen to me, or I'm so cool, now I'm the boss, listen to me. No. And I feel that's why also consciously they don't feel threatened there. So then it's just an equal battle. And my main issue with the industry, and I remember when I was struggling, I was meeting different people. I was, first I was thinking maybe I should work as an AD or DA, and I met a lot of directors who wanted me to work with them. And our first conversation usually was starting from, hey, so what's up, babe? And as soon as this babe was coming, for me it was no-go. And unfortunately, I'm not a very straightforward person. I would just smile, and then he will introduce me to the entire team, and then I just will not show up forever. And it wasn't a big issue, because the way how we interact with each other, or maybe how we used to interact, I don't know, I hope that right now something is changing.
Meghna, I think.
But it is very important that we understand that if we're professionals, we use just professional language. But other issue which I feel that right now with the social media, with everyone is trying to be hero, and all of us we're fighting either for war or anti-war or against Pakistan or for women, against women, Me Too. And
we are this, that's the cliche word, it's Facebook warriors. And and as soon as we start Facebook warriors, we're actually playing rhetoric of the entire issues. So in this case, nothing is kind of being prominent and important. So instead of actually doing something, we're just writing. So for me, if we're talking about, let's say, gender issues, what's the most important is like 3 things, is self-realization. For example, when I'm hiring the person, and yes, sometimes I feel when I had a boy and a girl, my preference was towards the boy, because I feel that I can connect to him more, I will be able to explain certain things more. But then, for me, it's self-realization, what I'm doing, why I want to hire a boy instead of the girl. Do I feel threatened? Do I feel insecure? What? Then self-analysis. Why do I feel threatened or insecure? And then third thing is implementation. When I'm taking some actions, yeah, fine, I realized something, I analyzed, but now what can I do to change that? Because when right now everyone is fighting just in words, I feel the most important thing to fight in action. I don't need to write on Facebook or just to share some article. I can just be nice to my women, filmmakers. Because I think everyone will agree. We as women, we just don't support each other. Oh, yeah. We will be like, yeah, yes, let's support each other. But then they're like, oh my God, she's just so dumb. I can't even hire her. And it is like that, especially in industry. You know how everything, like everyone just with everyone, and everyone is against everyone. And it's a big issue. And right now, unfortunately also, I feel that as a country, we really step back. If in 70s, we had like Pratima Bedi who was running on the street absolutely naked, just as a protest of, that it's my body and I can do that. Right now, imagine if someone will right now run naked on the streets of, Bandra. It will be intense.
I don't want to go that route.
It will be intense.
I don't want to get into politics. I want to bring...
No, but when we're talking about gender, we have to talk about politics, because the question whether are we being accepted as women.
If I may interrupt, I think the core of what she's saying is lovely. What she started with saying is that you're not trying to play the gender card. So I think if you just open your mind up and see, hey, I should get that job because I really deserve it, not because I'm going to play the woman card that, hey, men have better facilities or better opportunities. The minute you stop doing that, you're not feeding nonsense to yourself. You're not getting into that self-pity zone, into victimizing yourself and seeing, men have better opportunities, because I'm a woman. Maybe you just weren't good enough, in all honesty. That comes with a lot of acceptance. Sorry, and just one thing, when you spoke about the role of, movies, in fact, it's also very business related. At the end of the day, if my film, because we manage talent as well besides producing film, if today one of my newer actors is getting to co-star, whether it's equal or not, I can't debate on the script yet, but if it's a better known actor, then, and he can demand a certain price because he's delivered a performance, not just because, he's an actor, but because he's delivered hits, he's justified to get paid more. So I'm saying in those cases, you have to be practical, and it could happen the reverse way as well. I have new actors that are male, and they could get a role with a woman who's far more popular, and she will be paid more. So there's no grudge about that, which is, I think, the point she was trying to make.
Rajkumar Rao is my student from FTI, and I've heard these stories. So no debate about that. I want to talk about something a little different. I want to talk about social conditioning. Generations, tens of thousands of years of social. So my friends would get shocked that I'm a house husband, in spite of having 2 master's degrees and done whatever I've done. When Maharshi Karve married a widow, the women in his gully stood in line to spit on him because he'd married a widow. So sometimes women are their worst enemies.
I agree.
I think that's something.
I want to add quickly, I know we're running short time, but yesterday I had a student interview me 2-3 days ago, and they were talking for their magazine, and he said to me, off the records, I want to ask you a question. I said, sure. He said, my mom always said that women bosses are horrible. They are like really, really bad to work with, so whenever you get a job, don't work with her. So I said, that is a stereotype, and that is a stereotype that we need to break, and like Daria said, by changing ourselves. Yeah, unless we change, that stereotype's not going to break. And this whole thing about women being women's worst enemies, I haven't experienced it because I've created an environment around me to facilitate that. So if I, as a leader, have set a good example, the other leaders who are women are expected to set that example. And we have had women who are HODs who have been horrible to their staff, and I have called them on it, like she said. So it's important that you make that change and change that stereotype. And changing stereotypes is never easy. It is always going to take some time. It's going to take, but if people like us can learn it.
I really like, yeah, I've had too much to talk about it, I think, in the past, but I think it was very liberating for me, and I think I'm a very different person, I think, post my article also. I didn't expect the article to be like an all-India edition. When I did the interview with Renuka, who's also a friend of mine from college, she's a very well-known correspondent from the Bombay Times, and she's known me all her life. And she just came home and she just chatted about it. And I think one thing led to another, and I didn't even realize that so many things had happened with me as an actor, as a woman. And it was just so liberating for me to just talk to her about it. She took about 2 weeks before she published, 2 or 3 weeks, I think I'd forgotten also about the interview. 3 weeks ke baad, I think she published the article, and she sent me the article on email, and she was like, just proofread it. And I remember I was in Lucknow shooting for Rangbaz. That day it was an off day, and Lucknow is my hometown. So it was really like a full circle for me. And it really had started with me being molested by, a cousin of mine in Lucknow when I was a child. And I didn't speak about it for years because I just didn't realize that it was not my fault. And I kept thinking that it's my fault, that I let him touch me, or I let these things happen to me. So, although you may think that, oh, I'm such a fearless, confident girl out there in Bombay, surviving, working every day, there are lots of things that happen, in the past that you allow things to happen, and those things lead to who you really become in your professional space. And I think the minute I began the article with first accepting my fault, I said, yes, I was a different person a few years ago, and I would not want to be that person for the rest of my life, because I want to lead by example. I want to be able to be that person in the film industry who came out of nowhere, got educated, came into the films, is working on her own terms, is not ready to sleep for roles, is not ready to be okay with parties, and I'm not absolutely be ready to, let somebody walk all over me as a human being. So that's the stand I took. So I think it really did, and I think I realized that through speaking about it, I have really liberated myself as a human being. Forget woman, man. Yeah. This can happen to any of us. It happens to men, and it's such a deep conditioning, sir, because the guys just don't speak about it all their lives. Imagine like some boy who was molested at a younger age by a bus conductor or by a school teacher, by uncles living in those houses, and the conditioning, and I really have to thank my film, because that film really changed my conversations. It changed the way I look at another human being. It can be man, woman, anybody. And these conversations happened through all our panels, because there were 5 women sitting in that panel, and everybody had a point of view, and none of them were wrong, whether it was a 20-year-old Prabhata or like a 50-plus-year-old Ratna Pathak Shah or an Alankrita who was sitting there. Everybody had stories. And all of us realized that we are all in the same boat, and there's absolutely no reason why we are pulling each other down. Whether you're a man, woman, anybody, transgender, everybody's been through shit. Yep. So let's not try to put more shit into other people's faces. The good thing is that there is a conversation right now. There is an awareness, there's a realization. So you take a stand. Today I know that tomorrow if I go into this meeting with this director has the power to molest me or to say something that will harass me. But I have the choice, tell him, thank you sir, I do not want this meeting to be continuing. I'm okay. You do not want to give me this film, it's fine. But I have the right to walk out of this house right now because your conversations are making me uncomfortable. So I think that is very important, and that's a stand one needs to take for themselves. So I don't judge anybody for whatever that they have done in their lives or how they want to facilitate their careers.
So, like Daria, you said, you have to introspect and take responsibility. Do we have time? Are we finished? Wrap up? 5 more minutes? Fantastic. Daria.
I have a friend, he's quite famous actor, and after all this happened with Me Too, he's like a lover boy, everyone knows in the industry, and he loves women, and he loves sleeping with them, but he's very irresponsible. He thinks so. And so after that happened, he just told me, like, you know what, I just stopped texting women. And I stopped meeting women because I have now fear, what if she will misinterpret what I'm doing? So what should I do? I'm like, amazing, that's great, I can't help you. I'm very happy for all these women, you know. And so I think that's important, that you start thinking 5 million times before sending idiotic message, or I don't know, dick pic to someone.
Absolutely.
And,
But there are two sides to it, Daria. There are two sides to it. And Meghna knows this. I was accused of sexual harassment. And Meghna knows nothing happened. But what it did to me was devastating.
yeah, but see,
It was
it's
devastating
it's
because
okay.
it changed the way I interact with people. I am a very open person, and I was socialized. 20 years I lived in the US. I give warm hugs, and she said, "Somi, you need to step back." It is horrendous. Both sides, whether it happens to you or you're accused falsely of
I
something
think
like that.
that, you know, to sum it up a little bit, because I think Ritika is already on the mic, the Me Too movement has really swung a certain way, right? And it's that force that it's swung with, that there will be collateral damage.
Oh, Meghna, it's like a
There will be
revolution.
collateral damage, yeah, it's like a revolution. So there'll be collateral damage for men, for women, for families who are involved, and that's something that we have to go through again to break a certain stereotype. And it's happened, and it's great that it's happened. To a large extent, that people are more conscious. I feel there is collateral damage in the fact that men can't be men, or they have to be different around women. Now, like after all their lives of being a certain way, they have to change, but it's okay. It's not going to kill them. Nothing's going to.
Big difference. When I came to Bombay, people were showing me, you know, like, so don't come to this man, don't come to this
Yeah,
old man.
the
don't come to
stereotypes
this
already there.
forward,
Yeah.
or because they will hit on you. And I'm like, okay, so it means it's fine. Now, I know that it's not fine.
Yeah.
The fact that he's pervert or he will hit me, it's not fine.
Yeah.
And I know, yes, I can't, like, I'm not the one who will be writing letters in the newspaper because it doesn't work for me. But I know all I can do, I just have list of people with whom I just will not work.
Correct. Absolutely.
I'll make a point not to work with them.
Okay, we have to finish, but before that, you were talking about lipstick under my burqa. If you guys haven't seen it, go see that film. Not just because of Ahana, but it sort of wraps up a lot of the things we've been talking about here today. Thank you all very much. I'm sure she's going to thank everybody.
Thank you, ladies, and thank you, Somnath. I would like to request Mr. Sachidanand Shetty, the business head for Mukta A2 Cinemas,
there's been no एक बैरियर नहीं बनाना चाहिए बिकॉज आजकल यू नो हमारे पास ऑडियंसेस हैं जो इंग्लिश भी देखते हैं हिंदी भी देखते हैं देयर इज अ रीजनल ऑडियंस आल्सो सो आई थिंक इट्स जस्ट आई थिंक अक्रॉस ऑल बोर्ड्स द फिल्म इंडस्ट्री एंड आई थिंक हमारे जो पैनलिस्ट थे सब डिफरेंट इंडस्ट्रीज से आते हैं शांति इज़ अ प्रोड्यूसर यू नो मुक्ता रन्स अ फिल्म स्कूल इज़ अ यू नो is successfully running, you know, these chains of theatres out here. There is Daria, who's a filmmaker. I'm an actor. So I think everybody had a point of view. Everybody, you know, सबके पास एक opinion है, एक voice है. And I think it's really nice कि actually इन panels के through हम लोग की education भी हो जाती है क्योंकि sometimes as actors हमें पता नहीं कि you know what as a producer a woman is facing or as a educator what a woman is facing or as a filmmaker what a woman is facing. So I think these panel discussions for me have been always been very enriching because मुझे सबकी बातें सुनने के लिए मिलती हैं and I always realize कि it's not easy for any of us. So let's not like you know try to box ourselves and be like कि भाई हम actors हैं तो बस हमारे लिए problems हैं. I think problems सबके लिए आती हैं चाहे आप आदमी हैं औरत हैं and I think that was what I think I heard through this panel today.
about the pandemic?
I think for me the most important thing at this discussion is that we just need to realize what we can change. All of us, we know our problems. All of us were facing issues and harassment, but question is now I'm in a slightly different situation. Now I can take decisions. So what I can contribute in changing our industry.
I couldn't agree more with her. I think charity begins at home. So you don't need to go out there and make big changes. Start with yourself, start with your team, start ghar pe, start small, but make that change. Yeah, it will become easier for everybody because you had a difficult time. Make sure कि दूसरे और को आप ये difficult time और आसान कर दें उनके लिए. Just because you had a tough time, make it easier for somebody else because you know how it is to be in that place where it's a struggle.
बता तो दिया मैंने आपको और इससे ज़्यादा क्या बताऊंगी. देखिए किसी के लिए भी आसान नहीं होता है और ये मैंने एज शी सेड कि चैरिटी बिगिंस एट होम. ये सब चीज़ें घर पे घटनाएं घटती हैं चाहे आप लड़का हो या लड़की हो. कई बार हमारे खुद के कज़न्स, हमारे खुद के अंकल्स, हमारे खुद की आंटीज़ कई बार ऐसी चीज़ें करती हैं जो आपको स्कार करके छोड़ देती हैं बचपन में और कभी कभी आप उस गिल्ट के थ्रू पूरी ज़िंदगी जी लेते हैं. बहुत लोग ऐसे भी होते हैं जिनको आई फील एज एक्टर्स वी आर सो लकी दैट मेरे पास एक इमोशनल वेंट है. मतलब जब मैं स्टेज पे जाती हूँ तो मेरे लिए एक इमोशनल सीन है. तो अगर मान लीजिए मेरे पास कोई ऐसी इमोशनल मेमोरी है जिसको मैं सोच के आई कैन डू दैट सीन. इट्स रियली आई फील ब्लेस्ड दैट आई हैव अ प्लेस आई कैन वेंट इट आउट. इमेजिन आप एक ऐसे प्रोफेशन में हैं जहाँ पर आप कोई अपना इमोशन ही नहीं दिखा सकते हैं. सो हाउ डज इट फील टू बी लाइक दैट? आई रियली टेल यू कि इट्स बिन अ ट्रू ब्लेसिंग फॉर मी दैट मैं इतनी बार किसी कोई ऐसा सीन कर रही हूँ जहाँ पर मुझे लाइक आई हैव टू बी एन इमोशनल रैक एंड आई गो बैक टू अ मेमोरी विच हैज़ मेड मी फील सो बैड अबाउट माई सेल्फ और सो बैड अबाउट कि ये मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ. बट मैंने उसको सोच के आई डिड दैट सीन एंड आई थिंक समवेयर आई वेंटेड इट आउट. बट आप वो सोचें कि कितने लोग ऐसे होते हैं जैसे डॉक्टर्स या इंजीनियर्स या लॉयर्स जो अपने इमोशंस दिखा ही नहीं सकते. पुलिस वाली औरतें जो होती हैं उन लोगों को हमेशा एक स्ट्रिक्ट एक स्टर्न आउटलुक रखना पड़ता है. तो उन लोगों की लाइफ में, सबकी लाइफ में प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं. आप सोचिए आदमियों की लाइफ में क्या प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं. लड़के तो रो भी नहीं सकते क्योंकि बचपन से ये बोला जाता है यू आर अ बॉय यू आर नॉट सपोज टू क्राई. लड़के हो लड़की हो जैसे क्यों रो रहे हो. तो क्योंकि मेरा 2 साल का नेफ्यू है तो अब हम लोग ने उसको वो बोलना ही बंद कर दिया. हम लोग उसको बोलते ही नहीं है वो बिकॉज समवेयर वी आर अवेयर दैट वी शुड नॉट से थिंग्स लाइक डोंट क्राई. अब उसको आंसू आ रहे हैं तो वो रोएगा, बच्चा है वो. आप बचपन से ये फीड मत करिए दिमाग में कि तुम लड़के हो तो तुम रो नहीं सकते हो, तुम लड़की हो तो तुम ये ऐसे नहीं बैठ सकती हो. आई थिंक अ ह्यूमन बीइंग शुड बी अलाउड टू बी फ्री फ्रॉम दैट चाइल्डहुड एंड आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट आई हैव लर्नड थ्रू ऑल माई एक्सपीरियंसेस एंड आई होप आई कैन जस्ट कंटिन्यू टू डू दिस विद द यंगर जनरेशन एंड द जनरेशंस टू कम. मेरे पास बहुत ऐसी औरतें बट मेरी माँ और मेरी बहन मेरे दो सबसे बड़ी इंस्पिरेशंस है. मेरी माँ पुलिस वाली हैं, 3 बच्चों को झेला है उन्होंने. और and 3 kids and I tell you we are not easy kids. So, and I'm sure Meghna and Shanti know with kids it's never going to be easy. So it's not easy to have children. And so my mother, who's an officer, has served in the police for 40 years and has had a lucrative career. Today she can at least look back and say कि at least मैंने घर पे इन तीनों के पीछे अपनी life नहीं बर्बाद की. I've had, and all of them are working women and I'm sure all of them resonate with the same voice. To be able to leave your child, आज सुबह जब मैं कैब से आ रही थी आज, I was talking to my sister is she's in a perfume business, so she's a perfumer. But at the age of, हमारा 2 साल का nephew है, लेकिन for her to like just leave the baby, go to work, come back and do her gym, वो एक major fitness freak है. तो उसको इतना फैसिलिटेटिंग, उसने अपनी लाइफ इतनी एनरिचिंग कर रखी है कि उसको ये लगता है कि भाई अगर मैं अपने बच्चे के पीछे पूरी लाइफ ख़राब कर दूंगी तो व्हेन आई एम 80 और व्हेन आई एम 60 आई विल हैव टू लुक बैक एंड बी लाइक मैंने क्या किया अपनी लाइफ के साथ. सो आई थिंक इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर ऑल वुमेन टू बी एबल टू हैव अ लाइफ, अ फैमिली, अ हस्बैंड, हैव प्रॉब्लम्स विद ऑल द फैमिली मेम्बर्स and to be able to run a full-time career. So
at the same time I want to add to that कि आना जो कह रही है about working women, बहुत सारी जो औरतें जो काम कर रही हैं वो बच्चा पैदा करने से पहले 10 बार सोचती हैं आजकल, बिकॉज वो बोलती हैं जस्टिस नहीं कर पाएंगी, गिल्टी फील करती हैं. मैं उनसे ये कहना चाहूँगी कि मेरे 2 बच्चे हैं. मेरी बेटी 3 महीने की थी जब से मैंने काम शुरू किया, वो मेरे साथ ऑफिस में आती थी, ahana knows. जो उनके आँखों में आप आपके लिए प्राइड होती है वो किसी की आंखों में नहीं मिलती आपको। जो आपके बच्चे देखते हैं कि मेरी माँ काम करती है, मेरी माँ घर संभालती है, जब हमें ज़रूरत है वो हमारे लिए होती है, you are being a role model for them. So please, my appeal to all working women is, or working women who want to have babies, don't stop yourself. I'm telling you, हम औरतों में एक सुपर पावर होता है जो हम मैनेज कर लेते हैं, और वो जो बच्चों के लिए हम रोल मॉडल बनते हैं, जैसे आहना की मम्मी उनके लिए रोल मॉडल है, वो उससे ज़्यादा आपको क्या पुरस्कार चाहिए, आपको क्या अवार्ड चाहिए?
सॉरी, किसके लिए? हाँ, अरे कैप्टन अभिनंदन तो अभी हीरो है, उनको
अभिनंदन की माँ उससे बड़ी है,
उनकी माँ विमेंस डे की, तो बेसिकली आई मीन आई थिंक लाइक वी शुड नॉट टेक अवे फ्रॉम द फैक्ट कि उनके पेरेंट्स इतने काम रहे थ्रू दिस होल थिंग। आई मीन किसी का भी बच्चा अगर सरहद पार जाता है, आई थिंक टू बी एबल टू शो दैट काइंड ऑफ करेज एंड वैलर, आपकी अपब्रिंगिंग वो रियली शो करता है, एंड आई थिंक आई हैव टू गिव इट टू हिज पेरेंट्स। भैया वॉर होगा तो हमारे घर टूटेंगे, वॉर नहीं होनी चाहिए। देयर रियली शुडंट बी एनी वॉर। इनफैक्ट इट वाज सो वियर्ड बिकॉज जस्ट आई थिंक जब ये कैप्टन अभिनंदन का, जब विंग कमांडर अभिनंदन का ये पूरा इशू स्टार्ट हुआ, समवेयर आई वेंट दैट होम दैट नाइट एंड वेंट लाइक कि व्हाट इफ देयर इज अ वॉर, व्हाट विल हैपन टू आवर चिल्ड्रन। एंड आई थिंक नाउ बिकॉज वी हैव अ चाइल्ड एट होम, आई सडनली डोंट थिंक अबाउट कि हमारे साथ क्या होगा, आई गो लाइक कि हमारे बच्चों का क्या होगा, यू नो। सो मेरे थॉट्स ही आई थिंक पूरे बदल गए हैं, एंड आई रियली डोंट वांट इट बिकॉज अभी तो मतलब देयर आर किड्स, आई मीन फॉर हेवन सेक डू इट फॉर द चिल्ड्रन, यू नो।
No, I agree with her. Yeah, we have to just be better people and make this country better. We have the opportunity to do that. We have the opportunity to teach the right things. So I think we should work towards that.